Orthodox. I'm your host, Elisa Bielatich-Davis, and we get together here on Sunday nights to meet everyday Orthodox Christians. And that's right, we're just building up church unity one person at a time. And tonight, I'm excited to introduce you to Corina. Corina, I should actually say your last name, and I don't have it written down. Corina, what's your last name? Quick.
It's Hall.
I'm like panic. I'm like, Corina Hall. I'm introducing you to Corina Hall. Corina's the wife of Richard. She's the mother to 7 grown children, grandmother to 3, very lucky woman. She is a licensed midwife, published author, speaker, and advocate. So I think you're going to find this really interesting. She recently published a book. It's called The Chicken with the Red Feather, and it portrays the true story of her family's journey with Huntington's disease. And she loves people, coffee, travel, and going to church. And she goes to church at one of my favorite parishes. So,
this is true.
That's true. She's at Christ the Savior up in Harrisburg, which is just a really great parish full of neat people. But and as is evidenced by the fact that I'm just parading them all through. but okay, Corina, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so delighted that you've come on the show. It's really good. And I'm excited to hear about your book and to talk about Huntington's disease. And I feel like, maybe raise a little bit of awareness while we're at it. So I think that'll be a good thing. But mostly we just want to get to know you. So tell me, start from the beginning. Where does your story start? Where were you born?
So I was born in Paradise, California.
I was going to say California, because I'm from Northern California. I'm like, we have a Paradise, California. Oh, no kidding.
That's right. I was born in Paradise, California, 1969. So
there you go.
My mid-50s or so.
Right. In the heyday of the exciting hippie action in Northern California.
Yeah.
I bet Paradise was hippie central, frankly, at that point.
I was a skateboarder.
Oh, there you go. I mean, very alternative.
Yeah.
But very modern for that. Yeah. Well, we're a little too young to really be hippies. It's more our parents' generation that were crazy.
We tried, though.
Right. We had our own version of it. Our own sort of, I guess, slacker version of it, one might say.
Yeah. I think I was trying to be more punk rock, and then later became more like peaceful hippie. But beautiful. California girl, born and raised.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your family like? Like, were you an only child? Were there a bunch of siblings? What was the situation?
So I am the middle of three siblings. I have 2 brothers, an older brother, a younger brother. I'm the only girl. So that made for, I liked it. I like being the only girl. It's a great thing. Unless I wanted to date somebody, then it wasn't so great.
We're very close in age. We both grew up in Northern California, and I too am the middle with older and younger brothers. And it really just meant in our family that they had to do all the hard things, and I got to do the really easy things. Like, you guys go out and till the ground, and your sister will make sandwiches.
Yeah. I had all the indoor chores for sure. Yeah. I didn't have to take out the trash. Mm-hmm. But I did do a lot of chores because maybe in my generation anyway, in your generation, we just worked more, I think, than I see now.
So.
But
I try to get my kids to work, and I do put them to work, but it's just different. There's just also maybe not as much work to be done. I don't know what it is, but it's very different. Weird. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you're growing up with your brothers. You said you're a little punk rock, little peacenik as well.
A little punk rock skater.
I love that. It's
true.
That's so funny. So what is that what should I picture when I picture you as a punk rock skater at 14 or something?
All black clothes, dyed red hair, really short bangs with a Santa Cruz skateboard t-shirt on. And
indeed.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Holding my own.
I was
in the first Redding, California street style in I forget what year, 1985.
That's so cool. That's great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you were skateboarding, that would be mostly guys, right? Were you pretty rare as a girl? So not only did you have 2 brothers, but you were skateboarding with all the boys. Yeah. And how was that? I mean, was it fun because you were the girl and you got some attention, or was it painful because you were the girl and you didn't fit in?
I loved the guys because there was no drama.
Nice.
And so I really enjoyed hanging out with the guys and always got along real well. And I loved the sport of skateboarding. So I was very serious I dropped in the ramp and did some freestyle and street style and Yeah, I was just like your California, like sporty but yet punky kind of girl. But
I
yeah,
love that. I love that.
yeah.
I have a friend kind of like that too. She was from Half Moon Bay though, so you guys probably didn't compete.
Oh yeah,
But
my
she was like
sisters.
the only girl in the crowd, but it was fine.
Yep.
She just ran around having a
Yeah.
great time. That's
No, boys
beautiful.
are easy. They're no drama mom. I'm a no drama mama, so I appreciated the boys for
That
sure.
works out. It works out very
Yeah.
well. All right. So as you're getting into high school, what were you envisioning? Like, were you thinking, I'm going to go pro? But you really couldn't back then, right? Before the X Games, they didn't really have, right? It's really like Tony Hawk and all those guys that got it going, I guess. But so what were you thinking you would do with yourself?
I think at one point I think I was hoping to go to a college like Azusa Pacific, I think it was.
Yeah.
The college. I loved the surf. I loved to surf. I loved to body surf. So I would go to Santa Cruz periodically and do that. I was definitely not living a Christian life at all at that point. I was raised in a Messianic Seventh-day Adventist home, so I was quite
Pause.
rebellious. Wait,
What is Messianic Seventh-day Adventist?
So Seventh-day Adventist, but more focused on the gospel and less on Ellen White, who's like their prophet.
Oh, yeah. So I grew up about 15 minutes from Ellen White's house. And so like
no
near
way.
Angwin, California, she was like down the hill in maybe Yountville or somewhere. No, the other way, Calistoga more. But she is a huge figure. Like she really looms large in that region for Seventh-day Adventism.
You probably have Adventist Health Systems, which is a huge medical system that is all over the West Coast. I don't know about here, but I'm sure it's here too. But so I went to Adventist schools, Adventist doctors, Adventist dentists, Adventist hospital, Adventist chiropractors, 5 generations Seventh-day Adventist.
Wow. And so were you guys vegetarian?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
fasting as an Orthodox Christian is not as exciting for me. Right. Because fasting as an Orthodox Christian, if I just looked at it as food, it would be nothing new. It would be my whole life.
It's almost just
I have
unfeasting.
To like intentionally be like prayerful about it because it doesn't feel like I'm missing something. Does that make sense? Like it feels like I'm just doing what I've always done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's almost, but if you are eating meat on the alternate days, those days in a weird reverse way have meaning, right? It's like, it's like a feasting day, a normal day versus a feasting day.
Right. So, so no pants when I was a kid, only dresses, no jewelry of any kind, no nail polish.
Yeah.
No nothing on the Sabbath, but like walks in nature. No riding your bike.
And the Sabbath was Saturday, notably, not Sunday. Yeah, I mean, actually, in Christianity, the Sabbath is Saturday, right? We just go to church on Sunday.
We have Holy Saturday, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we just don't go to liturgy that day. That's not liturgy day necessarily. It might be if you want to.
I mean, there were definitely some things in Adventism that I obviously had to work myself out of Adventism, kind of come into what real Christianity looks like outside of that system because it's so defined and separate. But I'm really grateful for my upbringing. I'm really healthy and we had a very tight community my whole life. Like I saw churches that knew generation after generation after generation that were the same people. Wow. So there's kind of a beauty in that, but I was very rebellious from that, very.
Well, it's a tough culture, right? Because for those who are not as familiar, I don't think a lot of people are really familiar with Seventh-day Adventism, but it's like you said, it's a healthy culture. They're vegetarian. We lived near a grocery store that was Seventh-day Adventist. And of course, there were no animal products at all. So you couldn't run and get milk, but you could run and get bread. But so it's kind of funny.
We didn't do any spending on the Sabbath. We didn't shop on the Sabbath. We didn't drive
everything's
we didn't go
closed.
Up into church. It was a set aside day. I have really great memories because my dad loved nature. So we always went on Sabbath afternoon drives and we would just land up on Canada. Wow. My dad was so cool. We just get in the car and we never knew where we were going. And we end up somewhere in Michigan Montana or Washington or the coast or Canada. He would just get in the car after church and we just spend the whole weekend.
That's amazing. Well, and it's a beautiful area where you lived anyway, right? Paradise, even if you just drove around. I mean, there's a reason they call it that, right? It's just a forest, right?
Yeah. It burnt to the ground in the car fire. 90% of Paradise burnt to the ground in 2000, 18 or 19.
Oh my God.
I haven't lived there since we moved from California. We moved from Redding, California to Pennsylvania in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2 years after that, the car fire happened, and a lot of our people, our friends and family members, and they escaped 150-foot flames.
That's terrifying.
Like
England had the same problem. There was a terrible fire that coursed through probably around the same time, and it was just all the stories were just horrific, and the pictures were horrific, and that is one thing. You know, poor California, the fire, because I left before the fire season was a thing.
They just never stopped. At some point when we were kids, there were fires sometimes, but when I left California, there was a fire like 7 months out of the year. There was always smoke. You couldn't go outside of your house. It was, I have asthma from living in California.
Yeah.
The smoke was so bad all the time.
Yeah. I have friends who had to leave because their son's asthma was just too bad. And he came to visit his uncle in Texas, and it was like, wait, he's okay outside of,
Yes.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible.
But so it's interesting, though, too, the Seventh-day Adventist culture, like you mentioned that you were rebellious. Like Seventh-day Adventists don't drink. Do they drink caffeine? No. They do drink caffeine, right? But not alcohol? I feel like not much, right?
No sugar, black pepper, mustard, caffeine, alcohol of any kind, tobacco of any kind. Usually, if you're a really good Adventist, you'll eat 2 meals a day only. It's a whole theology on the Day of Atonement. So their theology teaches that we live in the antitypical Day of Atonement. So basically, we are all living in that one day a year in the Jewish calendar, every single day till Christ returns.
That's kind of cool, actually. Like, that's a neat idea. That's not true, but it's a really neat idea.
The idea that we're fasting, a lifestyle of fasting every day, is why they're vegetarians. And so it's like they're grasping. It's like they're grasping parts of the true church and teachings of fasting and orthodoxy. And there's a lot of things they believe that are orthodox. Like when I first started becoming Orthodox, I was like, I've always believed that because that's what the Adventists taught. So there's a lot that's true. And there's a lot that I've been able to grasp, especially coming from a more Judaic, a very Judaic background, where I maybe identify more with Judaism than I would with Christianity. And
that's the messianic aspect of it.
It's been very awesome for me, actually, because it's been like, whoa. Like I understand the Old Testament really well. I've read it my whole life. And so I understand the Sabbath. I understand rest. I understand grace. So it's been very cool to like learn something and go, oh my gosh, like my brain would be exploding with just like, I've always known there had to be a connection, but I didn't know what it was. And then when you hear it, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not know this? This is incredible. And then you want to go back and tell everybody.
Yeah, that's the painful part, right? And they're like, no, thanks, we're good.
Yeah, because we're keeping the Sunday. So that would be like a...
Yeah. Which is interesting, though, right? Because it's like, well, no, we believe that Saturday's the Sabbath. We're just not as good at not doing stuff. But it's, it's not actually that anybody argues about the Sabbath. It's that the only people who argue about it are the ones who don't know what the Sabbath is, right? Like if you think Sabbath means church day, then you're like, no, it's Sunday. But
if Sabbath is church day, then we're not rushing.
Yeah.
Because church day is definitely not it is a day set apart. It is holy. It is beautiful, but it is not restful.
Right.
I think any clergy person could tell you that.
Yep. That's so true. The last thing we would do is rest on a Saturday. You got to get stuff done. Yeah. But so your dad, you said he was a neat person. He would go on these drives that would just end up who knows where, amazing faraway places. Because Paradise is pretty far into Northern California, but I mean, it's not around the corner from Montana. And it's not, that's a drive.
So I was born and raised in Paradise, but we did live in Oregon, in Oregon for a little time. So that was kind of
beautiful.
It depends on where we were, but we lived in Idaho for a short time. But I was born in Paradise. I graduated high school in Paradise. I had my first children in Paradise. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, and your little detours to other places were all equally gorgeous, amazing West Coast places.
I mean,
like they're just beautiful.
I've lived in the Pacific Northwest, essentially. So that's, except for Pennsylvania. So yeah, we're 3,000 miles. If you look at a United States map, my daughter one time for Christmas made me this. She drew this map out with black and white paint, and like was a perfectly beautiful map. And she took a red thread and she sewed the red thread from Redding, California, where we were at the time, all the way to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And she put a little red pin there. And it's kind of crazy to look at it, because if you look at the map, it's like equally east to west, like equally like the distance from each edge, and like exactly straight across.
Yep.
And so I have it on my wall.
I want to say that Interstate 80 goes to Pennsylvania, right? Because when you're in California, there's a certain moment. I can't remember where it is, but it's like on the road to Sacramento from Napa, probably. But like, there's a sign that says, it's like Philadelphia, this many miles, and you're just like, what are you? What? But yeah, I-80 goes right through. You just stayed right on the freeway and just moved right along.
Right, there. And we were living in Redding, California. We were attending Bethel Church, which is a very, very popular, charismatic, like world internationally known charismatic church, for 9 years. And before we came to Pennsylvania. So, but I came here for a midwifery job. And so we traveled across the country and just took a leap of faith.
Wow. So
you knew nobody here.
Well, I'm curious if there was something a little bit familiar about living so close to the Amish community, because you guys are right out. I mean, you're right in it. You're in Amish country, right?
Yeah.
And so does it there feel like there's kind of a kinship between the Amish and the Seventh-day Adventists, or do the Amish seem like a whole other thing? I mean, they are a whole other thing, obviously.
My mom used to say when I was growing up that I was half Amish as a joke. And then I ended up serving and moved here to serve the Amish community, because I actually understand what it means to have a religion be a culture. So I wasn't confused by the fact that they were religious, but had a culture, because I grew up in such a tight culture,
right?
That I felt like at the time, I remember believing, like, I think God has sent me here to be a missionary to the Amish, because I actually identify with them. I get along so well with Amish people. I have Amish friends. I can go to their house and we have dinners together. We take horse rides. We're still friends even after I've caught their babies. And I really believe that, like, there's just something very, I mean, I don't deliver them.
I love that phrase.
I have 7 of my own.
Right? Women deliver their babies. Somebody else
delivered 7 babies. And my friend goes, in all those years of a midwife, I said, I have delivered 7 babies, but I have taught around 600. But I have delivered only 7 of my own, because trust me, I am not delivering that baby. That mother is having, she is the one that is creating that life and pushing that baby out and doing that work. I'm just catching it. I'm just here, God, here, let me put my hands out. I'm going to catch this baby. I'm going to bless that baby. I'm the first person usually to be able to touch a baby. I always say, Mom, put your hand down, touch your baby. And I think that is so precious. And Dad, come catch your baby. It's not my baby. I'm just the one that's helping, making sure that things are kept. I always call it the sacred space, where I'm holding that space for them so they can have a normal, healthy birth the way God designed it to be. And I'm keeping things normal, and I'm watching to make sure it can stay normal. And very few times have I ever had to go to the hospital. Like,
that's
very
lovely.
few.
That's a lovely way to think about it, because it really is true. There's always this person who has inserted themselves, who often doesn't. I mean, even if a woman has a regular doctor, she can go to the hospital and it's a different doctor on duty, and there you go, right? So it's some stranger a lot of the time who has nothing to do with the creation of this child. And it's a sacred co-creation with God. And then this random person just gets inserted literally and is sitting there, How beautiful to have the Father, if possible, catching or, and to see yourself more as someone who's there to make sure nothing goes wrong, or if something goes wrong, to make sure the right thing is done for it, but not so much to run the show and to think that you're part of it.
And usually all the complications that would happen in a home birth are going to be weeded out in prenatal care. So you're going to have labs, you're doing those things. And so you know that this is a very low risk birth. I'm not doing, I have done 2 sets of twins and I have done a breech at home. But for the most part, I've done just single pregnancies with, low risk women. I've had all really good experiences with all those things, but, and I'm very grateful to God for that. But I think that's because, training is really good. And then I had really good training and I got my license, but also I just have a relationship with God. And I always say Jesus is the best midwife. So, I can come in and do what I'm going to do, but the best midwife is not me.
Corina.
I tell people that all the time. He's the best midwife. He created you. He knit you together in your mother's womb. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. He knows everything about you. I don't know all the innards that he does, but God does.
I love that.
If you give women back the permission that God gave us to bear our own children in a place of love and safety, they do much better than when everything is traumatic and stressful and dangerous. Because birth is not dangerous. Birth is a natural, normal physiological function, and most of us can give birth normally and naturally. And when we can't, we have the beauty of the medical industry and the hospital and the doctors that are doing their ministry. But at home, I try to guard normal birth.
That's neat. That's really neat. It's interesting, that idea that God is the best midwife. And this sort of, I think of, and it's, in a much smaller way, but like even with Sunday school, I've always really believed, you don't walk around picking Sunday school teachers. You just pray for God to reveal Sunday school teachers. That's how the good ones come up, right? But how much more so with that? And I think with almost any project that we do, if we can say, Lord, do what you want with this. Like, this is my offering. Take it where you want to take it. Sometimes that's nowhere, and sometimes that's something amazing. And whatever it is, glory to God. Let him. Yeah. He's running the show anyway. So if we can cooperate with that.
Absolutely is. And it's good to partner with him in that, especially as a midwife, because, it says in Exodus, the midwives feared God. And so it's really important to remember that the midwives, Shiphrah and Puah were their names, feared God. And they didn't kill the babies that the Egyptian king asked them to kill, because the Hebrew people were becoming too numerous. And so they wanted the midwives to take out the babies at birth. And the midwives said no. It was a holy disobedience, and they feared God. So I always think your primary goal as a midwife, first and foremost, is to fear God. And your second is to serve that woman and give her hopefully the best experience that you can. And when things are in gray areas, then try to steer them back to normal. And then when things are outside of a normal area, know when to transfer and say, not be prideful, stay humble and say, you know what, we've done so good. We really do need to go in.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so when that happens, which is not very often, we trust each other because we have a relationship. I spend, an hour every month. We spend at least 1.5 hours together. And then every 2 weeks, another hour. And then every week, 1 hour, I go to their home. I know their kids, their farm, their family. So we're connected in a different way than just a 5-minute visit with someone that comes in, measures, and says, sounds good, bye. No offense to that. They're serving hundreds of people. But I really am privileged to be able to go into that home and spend that time and really get to know somebody. I really love that.
You minister specifically to the Amish community?
80%, well, until last year, about 80% Amish and about 20% English or non-Amish. But yeah, I would say almost all Amish.
Okay. Well, and
I love the Amish community.
How is that organization then? Is it an Amish organization that hired you? Like, who do you work for?
I work for Jesus.
Okay.
I work for nobody. I'm an independent midwife. So, I'm licensed in California originally, and then I work as a traditional midwife in Pennsylvania. But I have access to I can file my own birth certificates through the computer through the state, and I get my newborn screening supplies from the state. So I'm connected, but not connected.
That's neat. That's really wow. That is really, really cool. And so, all right. I'm sorry, I'm just sitting with this. Like, it's so cool that I'm so interested in this idea that you went from like this Seventh-day Adventist community to the Amish community. And in some ways, they're so far apart, but in some ways, they're so similar. And that
They're
thing that
so
you said
similar.
about this idea that you were comfortable with the idea that a faith and a culture are the same thing. And
Yeah.
as you're saying it, I'm thinking, isn't it crazy that we're not comfortable with that in the US? Because
Right.
your faith should be so strong that it should color everything in your community, right? Like
Right.
you know, when you think of Judaism, you think of orthodoxy in Greece or in Russia or wherever. I think, you know, we don't quite get it yet because we don't have our American Orthodox culture ironed out enough, but it's getting there. You can start to see it, right? Like you can start to, if you're talking to someone about what she's cooking, you might figure out that she's Orthodox, right? Like,
this is true,
cool.
Especially if it's a Wednesday or Friday.
Yes, exactly. Like you can see those little signs. There are a lot of little signs, but wow, how beautiful. All right. Well, we are going to be taking a very short break and we're going to come back. And I want to talk definitely about your family's journey with Huntington's disease, your decision to write a book about it. And I want to hear all about that. So we will be right back with Corina Hall.
Each year after Pascha, the Orthodox Church celebrates the holy myrrh bearers, who cared for Jesus' body after he was crucified. But myrrh bearing has a broader definition. It can serve as a metaphor for the practical, incarnate love to which Christ calls his followers. In The Art of Myrrh Bearing, author Elisa Bielatich Davis explores the lives of grace-filled, myrrh-bearing saints in Scripture and throughout the life of the Church, offering questions for reflection in each chapter. By following the lead of compassionate saints, such as Joseph of Arimathea and Olga of Alaska, we can learn to embrace a simple and profound way of life in ever-deepening communion with Christ and with others. You can find this book at store.ancientfaith.com. Again, that is store.ancientfaith.com.
Welcome back to Everyday Orthodox. Tonight we're talking with Corina Hall from Pennsylvania, although originally from Paradise, California. And Corina's a midwife. And so we've been talking a bit about that. And Corina, I really do love what you were saying about the idea that the midwives feared God. And of course, that's what saved Moses and so many other babies. But it's also like what an amazing history that to be able to lean on, and what a beautiful thing to be able to think about. But okay, we have to move on because I want to hear all about. So like, I guess you were still in California when you met your husband and or when you left Seventh-day Adventism. So tell me about both of those things in whatever order makes sense.
Okay, so I met my husband in high school. So we're actually high school sweethearts. And we've been married for 37 years, 38 years in January.
Wow.
So since 1988, we graduated high school together in 1987, and we got married in January 1988. So about 6 months after high school, we actually met at the prom. We knew each other before, but during high school, he was like 4'9" or something, like really little, junior or freshman, sophomore year. And then junior year, I kind of was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And then senior year, I was like, oh, this kid's really cute. And he's finally like my height. It was like finally up to where I was.
You finally hit the cutoff point.
Yeah. So we met at the prom. I was going to the prom with a boyfriend. He was going to the prom with his girlfriend. We ended up talking all night long to each other. And the next day, a typical high school, they got together and we got together.
Perfect though, because then they're consoled. They're not mad. They're fine.
They're good for each other. Like they're perfect. I mean, I don't know how that ended up, but and so at the time, I had just recently come back to walking with God again through Young Life, which is a program through high school in Chico, California, actually. And my husband was raised atheist, and he's Jewish, but with like no Jewishness, and atheists, but with like no talk about it. So basically like just nothing, just as nothing as you could possibly get. And I was raised with so much that we had a lot to talk about. So we met and we started dating then after the prom, and we've been together ever since.
Wow. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's so cute. Yeah. That's adorable. So you guys got married young though. I mean, that's got to be challenging. That's got to be hard.
I was 18. He was 19. He was 19 for 20, less than 20 days. And I was 18 for another like 2 weeks when we married. And we did nothing. Okay. Just to preface this ahead of time, there was no holy matrimony. There was no church wedding. We got married. We married ourselves first. And then my mom said, you can't do that. Show me your certificate. So they're like, okay. So we hired an aura reader to marry us on the beach in Vashon Island, Washington.
Oh my gosh. And you were not Orthodox, but you picked Vashon Island, which is the home, of course, of a well-known monastery with Abbot Trifon, right?
We used to see the monks all the time. But I had zero idea of what, I mean, I was raised Adventist, so I probably thought they were Catholic and was like,
right.
Even if I wouldn't have even considered what they were. But we had, his mom lived on Vashon. So after high school, we got in the car and we drove to Vashon and we lived there for like 6 months. And we got married by the aura reader lady. I don't even know who she was.
What is that? Aura reader? What is that?
Like a new age thing. Don't even know. Don't even ask. We had a Christian wedding because I wasn't at that time was again like not following anything per se. We hired this Christian pastor to come do a wedding for my parents, but we were legally already married. So I technically have 3 weddings.
Right. A self-wedding.
And self-wedding. My mom's like, I don't think so. And that was right of her to do that.
I mean, I'm with your mom on that.
She's like, send me a copy of the certificate. I'm like,
I'll tell you what, I mean, Northern California at that time, all my aunts and uncles, they're all common law married. And it's like they had a service in the trees. And so they're married. And it's like, you know what? That's not going to work in court, man. Like
we went to Pike Place Market in Seattle and got little rings made and put them in a little bottle with little incense and flowers and wrote a little love note about our love. And we threw it overboard on the ferry into the Puget Sound.
You're like, boom, we're married.
Not.
That's it.
I mean, in some ways we had it like understanding that a piece of paper didn't actually make you married. It
Something fair there.
Or keep you married.
Yep.
So we had that like early understanding because we both come from divorced families. And I think we just didn't want that to be for ourselves. And that was kind of our reaction to that as a teenage mind.
Yep.
And then,
but I think that's really common actually, right? Like this sense that like, listen, doing it the traditional way isn't working. Like, look around us. It's not working. So trying to find something else it's actually not stupid. I mean, it's probably not great either, but it's not totally out there dumb.
No. And then when my mom said, where's your certificate? I'm like, oh, I better find somebody. So I was taking a meditation class or something. And I asked a lady if she'd marry us, and she did. And then my mom's like, well, aren't you going to have a wedding with us there? I'm like, oh. So then I had another wedding.
Look, I thought you just wanted a certificate. I mean, here you go.
She kept saying, up in the bar.
You're like, you just keep moving the bar. What's going on? That's so funny.
So we had a Christian wedding. My poor mom was probably inside just not, she probably just shambling. But here, we are like the least likely couple to still be married. We have like no foundation in anything when we got married. We were kind of messing with new age stuff and hippie stuff in general and doing drugs here and there, not like hard things, but just hippie things. And I feel like I used to say we were a holy accident.
I love that.
But then last year, when I said that out loud, I heard the voice of the Lord say, don't say that anymore. You worked really hard to stay married. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's really hard. 37 years is not a holy accident anymore. That's a choice.
Amen.
And I think it was like, I've been saying that for so long. He's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, it takes a choice, because even if you're not able to love that person the same way all the time, which if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. Love grows and changes with time. You always can love the third person in the marriage. You can always love God, and he can always love you back and give you what you need, even if your partner can't. And so I think that over time, as we both became believers, I was 22 when I got baptized as a Christian again in the Foursquare Gospel Church. My husband was 23 when he became a Christian by a dream. He had a dream that he was sitting in a meditation room. It's all he probably knew at the time to dream about. And there was a Star of David on the wall. And he was looking at the Star of David, and he sat down and he started to like go into this trance in the dream. And he looked at me, and I was like, Richard, in the dream. I was in the dream with him. Where are you going? He goes, just take your place. Just take your place. I'm like, where are you going? Because I could see that he was like losing around him. And the Star of David became a kaleidoscope, but it was a Star of David with a Star of David with a Star of David. He followed it in the dream, and it landed on the face of Jesus Christ in his dream. And he said, it went bam. And he said, the minute he saw Jesus's face, he knew that he was God. No one told him. He said he knew he was God. And then he woke up and he was like, he called me. I was visiting my mom in Lodi, California. And he called me. He was like, I'm a Christian now. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're a Zen Buddhist. What do you mean? I'm like, you're a Christian. You were a Zen Buddhist last time I saw you. And now you're what? Like,
hey, it's been 15 minutes. What are you talking about?
I know. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I saw Jesus' face, and I went to a Catholic church and I talked to a priest. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he gave me this card to pray the Hail Mary. And he's like, but I told the priest, I didn't see Mary. I saw Jesus's face. Like, he didn't have a theology yet. And then we started going to a little Orthodox church in Eugene, Oregon. That's where we're living then.
Really?
Yeah. St. John the Wonder Worker.
Wow.
Was our first church as a Christian couple married. By that time we had Autumn was born in Paradise, Kyle Paradise, Zoe was born in Eugene, Oregon. So by that time we were in Oregon again.
But wait, so hold on.
You can't catch up with my moves.
Yeah, wait, where's the Foursquare time? When were you at the Foursquare
Oregon.
church? When were you? Okay.
Eugene.
So it was, you were in the Charismatic Church and then the Orthodox Church? Or was it Orthodox, Charismatic, Orthodox?
No, that's right. And then the Orthodox Church for a very short time. And again, it was like confronting all of my Adventist beliefs. Like I saw that Father David and Esther were the priest and his wife. And I remember him bowing down and kissing the icon. I'm like, oh, idolatry.
Right.
And I just didn't have a grid for it. We didn't even have a cross in our church. I had no grid for anything physical, except for they all have the three angels on their stained glass. But
right.
But that they don't have crosses in the churches, and don't wear crosses. We don't wear jewelry. So I didn't have a grid for it, but I felt drawn to it. But so then we went to St. Mary's Catholic Church for a little while. And I was like, I can't be Catholic. That's way too, like, I can't do that. And so we became Quakers for 7 years. We were Quaker at the Evangelical Friends Church.
No way. Were you Quakers still in Oregon, or were you Quakers now in Pennsylvania?
Oregon.
Oregon has Quakers. I didn't even know.
Yes.
It. Look at that.
And they were wonderful because they listened to our questions, and we could say anything we wanted to, and they didn't think it was weird.
Yeah.
We were just like, my husband was coming from such a different background. I was undoing religion and trying to find what I believed in all this. He was like starting to learn anything at all about the existence of God. So it was kind of a beautiful little landing place for us. And of course it was hippie and peaceful and all that. So
well, and the Quakers are very big on like you finding your own revelation, right? Like on your own experience of it. So I could see where that would be kind of a low pressure, comfortable, good place to be. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you end up coming back to the Orthodox Church?
Oh, So you want to skip to that part? I can tell.
No. You know what? Don't skip anything. Just talk. You just tell me this
So,
story. This is a great story.
So we ended up, after we became Christians, we decided we just were going to let God plan our family. We were not going to, we were just going to let that happen. And so that's why we have 7 children. We wanted 12. We actually shot for 12. And people were like, are you guys Mormons or Catholic? We're like, nope, we just love children. We just love babies. We think babies are great. And we lived we moved to Redding, California. And I was in midwifery school. I was working in Redding as a midwife in a birthing center, and also like interning, I guess. And and we had moved to Sacramento to a house there for a few years and moved back to Redding. So we were kind of in the same area within a couple hours. Paradise, Sacramento, Redding are all really the same kind of area. And my husband, at that time we had 7 children. Our youngest, Lydia, was 7. And we'd been in Redding but we moved there for Bethel Church, and we had been in Redding maybe like, let me think, 9 months or something. So we didn't know a lot of people yet. Sure. We were in a big church, and my husband worked in Sacramento, so he was commuting back and forth. He was in tech. He was a web developer, software engineer. So, and I was a midwife and working and a student. So, and we had a lot of kids, and I was homeschooling some, and some were in college, and some were in regular school, and some were in charter school, and some were home. So it was, and I was working full time. It was just crazy time. I don't even know how we did that. And one day, this is the Huntington's journey. One day, my husband, well, I should probably back up, because it will make more sense if I back up a little bit. When we were in Sacramento and my husband's mom died of Huntington's, she was only 56 years old. So Huntington's is a neurodegenerative disease, and it affects your thinking, walking, talking, swallowing. Basically, it degenerates you into the point where you can't do anything for yourself. You are in diapers again, and you basically degenerate. You stop being able to swallow, and then you eventually die. But it's a very long process. So it's like having ALS and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's in one disease. So imagine all those 3 things as one. So my husband and I, in Sacramento, we're both dreamers. He had a dream, and in his dream, the Lord told him, you need to go see your mom. Well, his mom had been on drugs, old hippie, lots of alcoholism, really neglectful of her kids. Like his younger sister was taking care of her younger 2 twins, one who was multiply really bad disabilities. She eventually died, and a stepdad was an alcoholic, and she was out in bars and drinking because she had Huntington's, and there was no tests then, and there was no way to no medications then, and so she was just living wildly because her mind was changing, and then leaving her kids at home for days on end without food. And so he hadn't talked to his mom, and we hadn't really had her around our family, because it was a very toxic environment, very sad. But at the time, we didn't know, we thought it was just drugs and alcohol. We didn't really realize it was Huntington's, because that was before 1994, when there was actually a way to test for it. Until then, there was no way to test for it.
So what the doctors are saying is that in retrospect, all of this erratic behavior is really related to the cognitive decline and just all of the weirdness of Huntington's.
That's right. So all of that was happening, and you get this bitterness in you because you think they're just doing it on purpose. And why don't they get their act together, and all those things you think. And when you find out, when we got the letter that his mom was sick, eventually, 1995, pregnant with my 4th child, Levi, we got this letter. We're like, wait, what? And it's genetic, and all of our kids are 50-50 at risk. So I'm like, oh my gosh, are we going to keep trusting God now? Because we said we were going to trust God. We're new believers. And so we said, we're going to trust you. I'm pregnant. We saw a genetics counselor. But fast forward, we made that decision to continue letting God plan our family, which we have never regretted. He had a dream that he was supposed to go see his mom, and the same week, someone from our church had come up to him and said, have you forgiven your mother? And he was just like, wait, what? And she's like, have you forgiven your mother? I feel like you're supposed to forgive your mom. And he's like, I haven't talked to my mom in 5 years. I don't even know where she lives. That's a real story. And so then he had the dream. And then he woke up and told me, I said, if
You gotta go.
if Nancy said go see your mom, and then God just told you to go see your mom, you better find your mom. So that was a Thursday. He left on Friday. He drove back to Eugene, Oregon, where she was, and looked for her for the whole weekend. He didn't find her Friday. He didn't find her Saturday. He was desperate. Sunday morning, he called me crying. He's like, I can't find my mom. I'm like, well, where could she be, right? So he's looking for his mom. He can't find her. Finally, at noon, he calls me sobbing. He said, I found my mom. I said, oh my gosh. She said, I called every number in the phone book. And she was like the last 5 numbers in the phone book for nursing homes. And the nurse said, come right now. She's dying. I said, what? He said, she's dying. I said, well, go. And then call me, when you find her. He found her at 12:30. And she died at 4:52 in his arms. True story.
Wow.
He held her. He held her. He sang Christmas carols over her because he didn't know what else to sing.
Those
Christmas
are hymns.
carols.
They're hymns of the incarnation.
He sang over her. He
God.
held over her. He prayed for her. He asked her if she knew the Lord and wanted to know Jesus before she died. He just led her as close as he could to the Savior, and then she died right in his arms. Wow. And then his sister called and was like, how did you know to be with mom when she was dying? He's like, I didn't. Everybody was mad at him. How come you didn't tell us she was dying?
Right, why didn't you tell us?
Her.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't even, he didn't have time. So she died.
But he was he was the one who was praying.
Right.
And
he's the only one that's a Christian in his family.
There you go.
And I just feel like God just led him there and was with her. So she wasn't alone. It was her firstborn son.
Yeah.
And then his brother was like, I can't understand what's happening right now. This is weird. This is weird stuff.
That's a crazy story to hear for sure. Absolutely.
Maybe her spirit was calling to you. And, he's like,
no, I don't think it was her.
The Lord.
She's not magic. But
but it was it was a very whoa, and that was the first time that I think he truly forgave her that day, which was very important to do. And I think that it forever changed our lives. Because we're like, wait, she's young. Right.
Mm-hmm. So he has Huntington's as well, right? He inherited it?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When did he find out?
So in 2009, we moved to Reading in August 8th of 2008. And then in February 27th, 2009, I'll never forget that date, I had someone in labor. I was supposed to go to the birthing center and be an assistant first midwife at the birth. And my husband goes back and forth to work from Sacramento, about 2.5 hour drive to Reading, 2 hours and maybe 50 minutes from where he lived. And so I knew he had left work at noon because he always left around noon that day on Friday. And it was he should be home by 3:30. I went to get the kids from school, came back, no husband. I make dinner, feed the kids, no husband. I get to nighttime. I put the kids to bed, no husband. By 10 o'clock, I'm freaking out. I'm like, where's my husband? I'm calling, leaving messages, going right to voicemail. I'm like, something's wrong. What is happening? So I put a little thing on social media. Hey, please pray. My husband hasn't returned from home. I think I'm gonna start calling hospitals. I called his employer. He left at noon, 12:30. He just disappeared. And so I call the police and well, we can't help you for 24 hours. So as of noon tomorrow, he'll be a missing person. But right now we just have to, wait and see. So I called every one of our family members and said, look, maybe he went off the road in his truck. I think it's the Interstate 5. It's pretty straight, but there's a lot of ravines and creeks and things. He could have fallen into a ravine. He could be upside down in a truck. He could be needing help somewhere. So we called the forces up. And we had everybody looking for my husband up and down from Sacramento to Redding, California. Every bathroom, every camera from a gas station, every place we could possibly look. We had people praying all over the world, praying. And no husband, just gone. Got back around 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, where are you? And I'm asking the Lord, where is he? And all I knew, and I don't know how to tell you how I knew, all I knew is that he was cold and he was wet. And I don't know how I knew that. I actually physically felt cold and wet. Like, I don't know, maybe there's some like marriage, God ordained connection there. And that, I mean, no, there is with marriage, but like there was just something about it. And so another person called and she was like, I've been praying and I just really feel like he's somewhere like west of I-5, like toward the ocean. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll start looking that direction. Cause I mean, hey, maybe God's speaking in this different way. And so we started looking that way. No husband, no new kids came back from school, no husband. It was like in the evening that night, I finally got a call from the police and they had found him 3.5 hours west of I-5 in the National Forest, hiking by himself. His car was in a creek, stuck and hiking out with no cell reception for 17 hours of hiking. All that time, he'd hiked miles and miles and miles in work clothes with no water, no food. He, in his brain, started to change a little bit, and he decided that would be a good idea to take a logging road home in February in Northern California. And of course, the logging road gets narrower and narrower. He finally went down into a creek, realized he couldn't turn around, realized he had no cell reception, was running out of gas, went down in this little ravine to come back the other side of the road, and a creek was down there. And when he went over the water, it just sunk him and started filling up with water. So he jumped out of the truck into the back of the truck, got some clean water from the rain in the back of his truck, and hiked 17 hours in the
Lord
National
have
Forest.
mercy. Wow. That's one way to find out that you've got some cognitive shifts.
So when he got
it's
home,
so dramatic. Holy cow.
When he all the news was on international news, on national news, it had gone all over by that point. And husband of 7 disappears. And when he got home, I didn't know whether to hug him or kill him.
Right.
I was like, if this is intentional, I don't know that
Right. Who are
what
you?
we have is broken. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Why would you do that to me? I thought you were dead for real.
Right.
And how could you do that to me? If this isn't intentional, this is HG. This is Huntington's.
Yeah.
And so I just said, I need to make a line here in the sand. This is the line. You're going to get tested or we have a problem. I just said it. We have a problem.
Right now you're being tested.
So, And so he decided, he said, I know. He said, I'm so sorry. He said, I'll get tested.
Yeah.
And so he told me 2 things. He said, when I get tested, you have to promise me you will never leave me in a nursing home ever. And that you'll put me in front of some amazing worship when I can't talk anymore. So I can just be in God's presence. So I said, okay. And so we got a call May 17th, 2009. So this would be like 3 months later, after a series of psychological evaluations and blood tests and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor called, and we were all like, everybody was on notice, because we knew she was calling, and we knew this was a result, which is going to change our life. And I just knew he had it. And he just thought, I don't have it. I'm fine. I'm like, okay.
That's not fine.
The doctor called. And we put the phone down and we said, hold on a minute. I said, hello? Hi, this is Dr. So-and-so. I said, okay, can you hold on a minute? He goes, I have your result. Like, I know. 1 second. Put the phone down. We got on our knees and we just said, God, this is up to you. You knew beginning from end. We don't know it, but help us through it, because we've always been taught, don't ask why, ask how. So we don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to do it, because why is kind of like self-pity, like why?
Yeah.
And how is like, how can we get through this? So we got up and said, okay, hi, here we are. And they said, he's positive. And we just cried and sobbed and cried. And then we called our pastor and be like, how do we tell our kids, And they're older now. We have college age, high school, junior high, elementary. And he said, well, tell them in age bracket groups. So we broke them up into like little parts and told them each one.
Oh.
We got to our youngest daughter, Lydia. She is 7. And we told her. And she goes, oh, I know what you're trying to tell me. And she runs in the other room, and we hear her put on this like kids worship CD, and she's in the room and she's singing. And we're sobbing because our response is like, not that.
Right.
She's like, I'm never going to stop praising you, Jesus, Jesus. And she's in her room and she's crying out to God. She's little. And she's saying, Jesus, I'm never going to stop praising you. And I cry thinking about it. And she comes back in and we're like humbled. Like, we're like, what is this kind of response?
Right.
And she says, I know. God, she said, Jesus told me he's going to heal Daddy. And I said, you're right. He is going to heal Daddy in however he wants to. And she said, and so we took that as like, healing doesn't always look like what you think it's supposed to look like. Healing sometimes looks like what you need, not what you want. That's what we've learned. And so we just said, okay, like we kept living our life. It took a year of just to grieve. I needed like a whole year just to get our everything back together. We could function and just to accept it and kind of move with it. And I had this word at the time over my life that it was like everyday grace, just everyday grace. God, every day, not the day before, not tomorrow, just stay here in your everyday grace. Keep me here. And so that's how we lived, because I don't know how to live in this much grief and this much yuck any other way. I don't know how to do it any other way. There is no other way. So we just decided to love better than we loved before and take it one day at a time, which we've done. And that would be like Lydia's 2025 this year.
Wow. So it's 20 years ago.
So it's 24 years of, and be 18 years, I think. Yeah. 18 years of diagnosis and 10 years of caregiving in October. So I've caregived now for him for 10 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and
so,
God willing, I guess you'll do it for a long time. It's hard to,
you don't know. I mean, he's on hospice now, but that could be a long time too.
Yeah.
So, it has been a definite like process, and that process and that suffering that our family has had to walk through, that is why we're Orthodox. You can go for the joy anywhere, but you're not going to find the joy that's deeper than sorrow without finding Christ himself. And you're not going to find the life that gives life to our mortal bodies without the Eucharist. So for us, if people are like, oh, you're Orthodox, that's so like cool. I'm like, really? I didn't want to be Orthodox. Not cool to me.
You associate it with the
I so did not want to be. I was like, I'm not Orthodox. Like, you cannot make me Orthodox. Like, I was going to a Messianic fellowship and we were keeping Shabbat. It was beautiful. That was the farthest thing from my mind, actually. I fought it hard. But, but it was the suffering. Yeah. It was the understanding of suffering as something that could be actually something that refines us and makes us better.
Yeah.
And it isn't running, not like we have to have it, but we kind of do, because
we kind of do, because we are lousy without it. I mean, it's just true. As awful as it is, and as much as nobody wants us to say that, the truth is, if there's nothing wrong, you just don't have to rely on God, and you just never do. Right. And then God changed our whole marriage had to change because things got really hard because his mind changed first. So for some people, physical and the mental come together. His was all psychological, suicide ideation, ready to kill himself one night. He was in a nursing home for 10 months. He didn't want to come home. He was really, really hard for us to be around. He was abusive to me. He was kind of abusive to the kids. He didn't mean to be, but he couldn't help it. So we're living with this person that, like, isn't, we're like, I tell my kids, that's Huntington's talking. That's not your dad. Yeah. But that's really hard to take in as a kid. Mm-hmm.
And so
it's hard to
that
take
was a
in
really,
as a wife too, but it's really hard as a
it
kid.
was just an awful time. I started to not like my own husband.
Oh,
I love
sure.
my husband, but I
Right.
didn't know, I was married to an actual stranger. I didn't know who this person was anymore. And so that became really, really difficult. Until we went to the nursing home. I had that little 10-month break. And in that 10-month break, God did something really miraculous with my heart. He began to show me what covenant looked like. As one time a pastor said, "Do you love your husband?" And I said, "No." But what he should have asked me is, "Are you in covenant with your husband?"
Yeah.
And I would have
Right.
said, "Yes."
Yes.
And I don't like him, but I'm not going to go anywhere. But the Lord did a work on my heart in that 10 months of time. And I had read 1 Corinthians 13 1,000 times in my Christian walk, 1,000,000 times. And in that time that I had read that 1 Corinthians 13, I'd never read Love Doesn't Fail like I read it that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know this kind of love.
Yeah.
I don't know that kind of love.
It's too much, right? Only God has that kind of love.
And I
Only
said,
God has that
God, I
love.
don't know it. And I started repenting and telling him how sorry I was for withholding that love from him because I didn't have what I needed anymore. And I had all these excuses. And the Lord gave me a grace that night that I have never been without since that day. That would be 2018. And I've never, ever lacked the love for my husband since that moment. And it was
Glory
like
to God.
it just was like a grace to be whatever he needed and receive nothing in return, but have everything I needed from God alone. And that was really needed.
So as we close up, I just want to know, so if any of our listeners are entering into, whether it's Huntington's or something else that's really difficult with, especially with caregiving and with loved ones.
Yeah.
What advice do you give them?
If they're entering into it?
Yeah. As they enter into it, like, is there anything to hold on to? Is there anything to help them stay?
Kill your expectations first. Cling to God always, and literally take it one day at a time, because that's all you have. You don't have tomorrow. You don't have the past. You have today. And if you screw up, it's okay. I screw up all the time. My priest hears all my bickering, trust me. And all the things that I feel like I've just done wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm still here. We're still married, even if there's not that same marriage. Doesn't have the same marriage anymore, but it's the same covenant. Nothing's changed there.
Right.
Yeah. And don't be too hard on yourself, because and also no one Huntington's person is the same.
Yeah.
So don't try to. I used to watch videos and try to tell my brain how it's going to be later. It's not like that at all.
We hate the unknown, but that doesn't work.
No,
just learn to live with the unknown.
Try to stay in today.
Yeah.
Try to stay present with your emotions. Try to stay present with God. Try to be honest about everything, because like Father Stephen always says, God doesn't care about our sin so much as he cares about our honesty. So that's really, really important to remember. It's okay to be honest. Be honest with the right people.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Corina, thank you so much. It's just such a blessing to have gotten a chance to sit and talk with you. I so appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and thank you to our audience for joining us. And come on back. We're going to have another Everyday Orthodox Christian right here on Everyday Orthodox. We'll see you then. Good night.